Section 1. The Quiet Edge. What if the secret to triumph lies not in the words you unleash, but in the silences you safeguard? In an age obsessed with constant updates, relentless sharing, and performative honesty, a rare breed of strategist recognizes silence as a masterstroke. While the crowd clamors to broadcast intentions and parades its reasoning on every platform, the true architect of influence chooses restraint, wielding silence like a blade that cuts through noise without making a sound. Imagine a world where your unspoken thoughts carry more weight than any tweet or post. Niccolò Machiavelli, that 16th century Florentine sage of power, understood this better than most. Though celebrated for the bold counsel in The Prince, his most formidable insight lay in discerning what should never escape the lips. The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances, he warned, reminding us that speech crafts illusions, while silence preserves the unvarnished truth. Consider the hidden costs of unnecessary speech. Every declaration becomes a promise, every explanation a chain. Announce your grand design, and you tether yourself to it. Change direction, and you risk being branded untrustworthy. Reveal your entire thought process, and you gift adversaries a roadmap to predict and outmaneuver you. In contrast, silence frees you to adapt, to remain unpredictable, and to preserve the mystique that elevates you beyond the ordinary. Have you ever rushed to fill a pause, only to later regret the words that tumbled out? By resisting that impulse, you build an aura of authority. Listeners begin to lean in, projecting their own expectations onto your stillness. They guess, they wonder, and in doing so, they reveal themselves, even as you remain an enigma. If these reflections resonate, a gentle tap on subscribe would enrich our shared exploration and ensure you never miss a moment of strategic insight. First, silence shields your position. Declare your intent, and you hand others a vantage point from which to judge and undermine you. Stay mute, and you retain the freedom to maneuver without apology. Second, silence conceals your thought process. The more you speak, the more your mental map is exposed. By withholding commentary, you guard against manipulation and preserve leverage. Third, silence cultivates mystique. As Machiavelli observed, fear requires distance, and distance requires some degree of mystery. A leader who hoards words commands far more respect than the one who dispels every cloud of doubt with endless explanations. Picture the modern meeting room. The over-talkative colleague dilutes their impact with every off-point interjection. The assured executive, on the other hand, delivers a succinct remark and watches the room fall silent, hanging on that single utterance. Or think of social media. The friend who unveils every personal detail becomes mundane. The one who shares sparingly remains intriguing. In negotiations, the party that resists the urge to fill a silence often secures better terms, leaving the other side squirming to fill the void. Now imagine yourself in these scenarios. When the spotlight shifts to you, how do you respond? Do you rush to speak, scrambling to prove your insight, or do you let the hush speak for you? What power might you unlock by simply listening and waiting? In our evolving saga of strategic mastery, this introduction marks only the beginning. There are three distinct forms of silence, each with its own art and application. Shall we journey onward to unveil the first of these methods? If you're ready to delve deeper into the discipline of strategic stillness, let me know, and we will proceed to Part 2. Section 2. The Three Silences. Hook. The Three Silences. Beneath every great strategist's calm exterior lie three distinct forms of silence, each a deliberate choice, calibrated to advance specific aims. Just as a master painter selects three primary colors to compose infinite hues, so does the Machiavellian tactician wield three silences to craft influence. Let's explore how you can adopt each one. First, information gathering silence. Often, the cleverest response to a question is no response at all. When you resist the urge to speak first, you force others to reveal their hand. As Machiavelli warned, the fool speaks immediately, revealing their position while learning nothing about others. By remaining mute, you gather priceless intelligence, their true intentions, hidden anxieties, even unguarded desires, while your own motives stay encrypted. Practical moment. In a negotiation, pause after the other party presents an offer. Let the silence linger. They'll often feel compelled to sweeten the deal, or divulge additional terms rather than allow the hush to stand. Real-world echo. Skilled interviewers ask a pointed question and then stay silent, prompting candidates to elaborate far beyond what was initially volunteered. Question for you. Next time you find yourself in a high-stakes discussion, what might you learn by simply listening first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences. Second, authority-building silence. True authority doesn't shout. It resonates in the spaces between words. When a leader speaks sparingly, addressing only the most critical issues, their voice acquires gravity. Machiavelli urged rulers to imitate the fox and the lion. Be cunning in speech, ferocious in action. By choosing silence over needless justification, you elevate every utterance into an event. Practical moment. In a team meeting, refrain from commenting on every agenda item. Instead, interject only when your specialized insight can decisively alter the trajectory of the conversation. Real-world echo. Observe visionary CEOs. They seldom pontificate at length. Instead, they deliver concise, memorable lines that ripple through media and boardrooms alike. If you're finding value so far, a quick like helps more people discover these strategies and ensures you won't miss part 3. Third, ambiguity, preserving silence. Sometimes clarity is your enemy. By remaining vague, you allow different audiences to project their own hopes and fears onto your words or silences. Machiavelli noted that when one of two must be lacking, it is safer to be feared than loved. Extend this to all communication. Withholding specifics can safeguard flexibility and maintain plausible deniability. Practical moment. When outlining a vision, speak of the end goal, but leave the roadmap unpenned. This way, stakeholders invest emotionally without anchoring you to a fixed plan. Real-world echo. Politicians often employ ambiguity, using phrases that mean one thing to one constituency and another to a different group, yet commit them to nothing. Empathy check. Imagine you're pitching a creative project, and fear over-specifying would close options. How might you phrase your vision to invite collaboration while preserving your own freedom? Share your approach in the comments. Your insights could inspire fellow strategists. By mastering these 3 silences, you transform every pause into an asset. You'll gather intelligence without revealing your own, build authority through restraint, and maintain the strategic elasticity that constant communicators surrender. But remember, discipline is essential. Each form of silence must be deployed purposefully, not as a reflexive withdrawal from engagement. If you found these techniques enlightening, consider subscribing now and tap that bell so you're first to receive our next deep dive on turning silence into success. In part 3, we'll examine the psychological currents that make silence irresistible and how to harness them to become the observer whom everyone notices, yet rarely understands. Section 3. Mind's Mirror. Silence does more than guard secrets. It reshapes minds. Beyond tactics, strategic silence wields profound psychological forces that words simply cannot match. First, it opens a projection canvas. Human nature compels us to fill emptiness with our own fears and desires. When you hold your tongue at a pivotal moment, listeners project their anxieties onto the void, often revealing hidden motives without a single question. Skilled negotiators harness this by pausing after a proposal, watching opponents squirm until they volunteer extra concessions. Have you ever felt your pulse quicken in an uncomfortable silence? That unease belongs to whoever broke the pause. Second, silence establishes communication dominance. The one who speaks first signals need for approval, explanation, or validation. By contrast, the one who speaks sparingly assumes the role of arbiter. Your restraint tells the room your voice matters most. In job interviews, candidates who ask incisive questions instead of monologuing leave a stronger impression. In meetings, the person who listens intently before offering a brief insight commands far more attention than the one who interrupts with half-formed thoughts. Third, silence cultivates mystique. What remains unseen evokes awe. A leader who shares conclusions but conceals the deliberations behind them retains an aura of near omnipotence. Observers assume the hidden process must be as brilliant as the outcome. This mystique magnifies your influence without ever needing to fabricate falsehoods. Your power lies in strategic opacity, not deception. Consider how these dynamics unfold around you. In conversations with friends, silence can prompt confessions they would never voice under chatter. In competitive arenas, athletes who trust their instincts quietly outperform those who second-guess every move aloud. In creative collaborations, a well-timed pause can redirect the entire group toward richer ideas. Imagine your next high-stakes moment. What might you discover by simply holding your silence? How might you shift the balance of power with nothing more than a breath? Reflect on these questions now, for mastery of silence begins with awareness of its hidden currents. In Part 4, we will weave these threads into a cohesive discipline, revealing how to practice strategic silence daily, transforming every pause into your greatest advantage. Hook, silent mastery. Unveiled. What if the greatest victory you ever secure comes not from what you say, but from what you choose never to voice? As we draw our journey to a close, let's weave together every thread of strategic stillness into a living discipline you can practice each day. Over the past 3 sections, we uncovered how to gather intelligence without revealing your hand, build unshakable authority through restraint, and preserve the ambiguity that keeps your options and your adversaries off balance. Now, in this final act, we'll translate those insights into clear lessons, memorable takeaways, and practical rituals. Lesson 1. Embrace the power of the pause. Every meaningful conversation has its rhythm of speech and silence. To harness this rhythm, practice conscious pausing daily habit. At least once each morning, engage in a 2-minute silence before responding to any messages or notifications. Notice how this pause clarifies your priorities. Outcome: you'll find that measured responses carry more weight than knee-jerk reactions. Lesson 2. Speak with surgical precision. When you do speak, let each word serve an explicit purpose. Daily habit. Before emailing or speaking, ask yourself, what one insight do I want to leave my audience with? Then tailor your message around that core idea. Outcome: your words become concise instruments of influence rather than background noise. Lesson 3. Cultivate strategic ambiguity. Maintain the freedom to adapt by resisting unnecessary specifics. Daily habit. Draft any plan or proposal in 2 phases. First, outline the ultimate goal. Second, hold back on detailing the how until you've gathered fresh input. Outcome: you avoid self-imposed constraints and keep collaborators invested in shaping the path forward. Video summary and core insights. Information gathering, silence. Listening first reveals more than speaking ever could. Authority building, silence. Words spoken less often command greater respect. Ambiguity, preserving silence. Vagueness, when used deliberately, secures flexibility and deniability. Psychological forces. Silence projects others' fears and desires, shifts power dynamics, and cultivates mystique. Practical discipline. Daily rituals, pausing before response, speaking with clarity, and drafting goals before details, transform silence into your strongest ally. Each of these pillars reinforces the central truth. In a world drowning in words, the person who masters silence doesn't merely stand out, they stand above. Final reflections. Strategic silence is not a retreat from engagement, but an embrace of power. It demands fortitude to resist the urge to fill every quiet moment, patience to wait for the right time to speak, and wisdom to discern which truths to share and which to safeguard. Over time, this discipline will seep into every corner of your life. Negotiations, leadership, relationships, elevating your influence, and preserving your freedom. If you discovered new strategies here, leave a comment sharing which form of silence you'll practice first. In silence, we find our strongest voice and win beyond the reach of words.